He influences the lives of millions through his presentations, books, and videos. His new video series, Motivation Bites, was just released, and we're honored to be sharing it with us in person this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Hall of Fame speaker and best-selling author, Steve Gilliland.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Before we let him on, let me tell you a little bit about this man. Steve is a guy. Let me tell you what's fun about this. I get to call him a friend, whether he likes it or not. And the reason why I get to call him a friend is because every time we have called him and asked him to help, he said yes. Every time. And I can remember when it all started when his friend Chuck Gallagher said, oh, just call Steve. Steve loves to help community. So when I first reached out to him and his support staff, they quickly said, we'll be more than happy to help. Steve Gilliland has been a true fan of the Lake Norman area and Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. He has been a true supporter of Joe Vagnone. And anytime I've asked Steve to help, he has been there to help. And this is a great example of that because Steve sends out an email. We don't tell him, but we copy. You know, whenever Steve does something,
He's listening to you.
It's pretty good, you know. And so Julie and I like to keep an eye on what Steve's doing because he does a really good job, right? Well, he sent out this motivational bite. Literally, he sent it out on Tuesday. Julie and I called each other and said, did you see what Steve sent out? It was great. And I said, Julie, we got to get him involved in the event. She said, he's not going to help again. He's not going to do it. And sure enough, we called Steve. And Steve, you were right there again to help us, buddy. Thank you, my friend, for being involved. And thank you for giving back to the community. I personally, and I know the small business community in the area, really do appreciate it, my friend.
You're so welcome. It's an honor to be here this evening.
So, here's what I want to do. Let's get right to talking about your newest venture, Motivational Bites, because we're going to play one after we talk, and they are just really exciting, and it's such a fun way to get a point across, and nobody, Bill, tells a better story than Steve Gilliland.
You know, Steve, I tell you, I got your CDs, and there's times when I'm on the road, I'm driving back and forth to the farm that he was just talking about, and I'll throw one of those CDs in, and they absolutely rock. I love listening to your stories when you're talking to the trade associations. Great CDs.
Well, thank you. Well, the stars kind of aligned on this project. What happened was when COVID was into this timeout, I got to sit down to think, thought, oh, what I do that would just take me where I want to go based on something that had happened over the last probably decade. And that was after I would finish speaking, I would have so many people come up to me, and especially the primary meeting planner who had hired me to speak, and they would say, man, that was wonderful if we could just have you every week. And I got to thinking about that. So whenever this happened last May, you know, and we really kind of didn't know how it was going to end up, and I never thought anyways it was going to last this long. I actually went into Primo Productions, Chuck Gallagher's studio, and I said to Chuck, I said, you know, I want to do something. And Chuck was really all behind it, all supportive. And he said, you know, it's going to take, you know, months. It will take months, if not a year, to produce it. And it took us exactly 1 year. And what we did was I sat down and wrote 52 motivation bites on 52 different topics. And I basically wanted to tell a story at the beginning to engage everyone and then kind of give you the lesson, you know, kind of like lesson learned, wisdom earned. And we debuted it, as Joe alluded to, we debuted the one on character a couple of weeks ago, and we actually got a very surprising response. We knew we'd get a response, but not so overwhelming. There have been several organizations that have contacted us that have said, hey, how do we get these? One company that I just talked to on Monday this week said it's going over exceptionally well. They put it on their intranet for all of their employees, and every Monday they get a new motivational bite. So that's kind of the backdrop. You know, we were forced into this massive timeout. I had some extra time to write. And then I spent hours, well, literally days, and now it was about a 3.5-week filming project. So if you can imagine being in front of a camera in a studio for the equivalent of 3.5 weeks. That's pretty much what it was. But that's the backdrop.
Steve, I want to make sure everybody's clear on this. We're going to show through our event tonight and tomorrow some of your motivational bites. Thank you, sir, for allowing us to do that. We appreciate that. And when you get a chance to see these, those that are listening, you're going to see why I say thank you. These are truly, absolutely phenomenally done. And you, the listener, can receive these motivational bites. Tell them exactly, Steve, how can they get them? How can they receive them if they would like to see them? Because once they see this, Steve, I'm almost positive they're going to want to be involved in it.
Well, the first thing they can do is go to my YouTube channel. So if they just go to YouTube and type in Steve Gilliland, when they get to the channel, they're going to see a category called Motivation Bites, and they will see the 4 motivation bites that we preview on our YouTube channel. From there, they can go to the website, again, very simple, stevegilliland.com. And there is a link, literally, there's a page that says Motivation Bites. They can go there. They can actually preview all 52 topics. And they can get a pretty good flavor for what those topics are. Again, I just want to repeat this. The stories really reinforce the message. And the feedback early on from the clients and organizations that have purchased these for their employees, basically what they have said is it has been an absolute A+ because they love the stories. They love the stories. They love literally the lesson that's being learned through the story. And its thing is, it's 4 to 5 minutes. So it's the other thing is they own them. I mean, they archive them. They own them. If there's a new employee, I mean, they can do what they want. Basically what we said, Joe, was we wanted to make sure that we shared it with, the world. If an organization wanted to put it out to their clients, whatever they wanted to do, they own the bites. And there are 52 different bites.
So, Steve, I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to go too far into your personally, but I know you went through some personal challenges, some health challenges. I know the Steve Gilliland absolutely practice what he preaches. It really is what makes you so genuine and so real. And I must tell you that it's such a refreshing thing to know the man and then see the final product and know that they really are connected in some way, buddy. Thank you so much for doing this. We really do appreciate it.
You're quite welcome, and you're too kind. Thank you so much for the compliment.
So, Steve, what we're going to do is we're going to play the motivation bite and get on with the program. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Chris, are you ready to play that? So, Bill, it's amazing what happened. Julie and I did not know this, but we were getting an email from Steve's people, and it was his first little teaser, if you will, motivational bites, right? And so Julie and I must have both played it about the same time, because the next thing I know, we're talking to each other saying, have you seen this? It's just phenomenal. This is really great.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm really looking forward to it.
So when we show you this, I want you to know this is something that you can get for your business whenever you are interested in doing that. And we're going to be peppering these videos throughout our program tonight and tomorrow.
A few years ago, I arrived a bit early for my departing flight out of Charlotte. I purchased a newspaper to do the crossword, a cup of coffee, and a package of cookies. I went and sat at a table in a common area. It's essential that you get this clear in your mind. Here's the table, newspaper, cup of coffee, and a package of 8 cookies. A guy is sitting opposite me, a perfectly ordinary looking guy wearing a business suit, carrying a briefcase. It didn't look like he was going to do anything weird. What he did was this. He suddenly leaned across, picked up the packet of cookies, tore it open, took one out, and ate it. For most of us, there's nothing in our background, upbringing, or education that teaches you how to deal with someone who in broad daylight has just stolen your cookies. I did what any non-confrontational person would do. I ignored it. And I stared at the newspaper, took a sip of coffee, tried to do a clue in the newspaper, couldn't do anything, and thought, what am I going to do? Although I tried very hard not to notice that the package was already mysteriously opened, I went for it. I took out a cookie for myself. I thought that should settle this. But it didn't, because a moment later, he did it again. He took another cookie. Having not mentioned it the first time, it was somehow even harder to raise the subject the second time. We went through the whole package of 8 cookies like this. I felt like it was a lifetime. He took one, I took one. He took one, I took one. Finally, when we got to the end, he stood up and walked away. Well, we exchanged meaningful looks. Then he left, and I breathed a sigh of relief, and I sat back. Minutes later, my flight was about to board, so I tossed back the rest of my coffee, stood up, picked up the newspaper, and underneath the newspaper were my package of cookies. The thing I like most about telling this story is knowing that somewhere in the world, there is a perfectly ordinary guy who's been telling the same exact story, only he doesn't have the punchline. We all have tunnel vision and get stuck in our patterns. When we have a broad-minded attempt to understand both sides of the coin, we grow. There will always be more than 2 sides to every story. Whereas knowledge can be obtained by seeing one side, wisdom knows all sides. Right now, someone is questioning how there can be more than 2 sides. Because there is your side, my side, the media's angle, and the way it really is. How many times have you had an opinion on something, been convinced that you were right, only to have someone else turn up with previously unconsidered information or introduce a different viewpoint, thus prompting a whole new way of thinking? Being ready to listen to another person's perspective is essential. So the next time you are convinced that you know everything and that you are right, make sure you check under the newspaper first. You might just be missing something important that will offer you a fresh perspective.
Oh. You don't need your headset. I don't, okay. Wait, the camera is live now, Chris. Thank you so much, Steve, for that. We really do appreciate that. Bill Russell, first of all, let me be clear, buddy. These flowers are delightful.
I feel like I'm in Pasadena.
I worked long and hard and purchased them from 3 different local gardeners so we could have a sexy looking set.
I had to kill a bee over here.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was a bee flying over.
Well, I didn't spray them down or anything. I mean.
Hey, Joe, you know who we have now?
I'm ready.
I have the 2022 board chair of the Chamber. It's not even 2022.
So I got time to talk him out of it, is what you're saying?
No. He's hooked in. But we actually have the 2022 board chair, the incoming board chair, David Keith, who's been very involved in the Chamber of Commerce. And David, welcome. Tell us what.
Thank you, my friend, for coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Tell us
Thank you,
what
Joe.
we're
Thank you,
looking
Bill.
for the Chamber of Commerce in 2022. What are you going to make me do?
Well, what we want to do is continue what we've already been doing. You know, we've been going through this year. It's been a challenging year, but we've been holding the fort, getting through this COVID situation, getting back to a position where we could all meet again. We can meet in person and really business to business, face to face, really engage each other. And that's what really the Chamber does. It brings businesses together. And that's what I want to do. I want to continue the process. You know, Erica Erlenbach told me that this year is going to be a challenging year for her to get through this, to get back to a sense of normalcy. And I see that coming. I see going into rooms with no masks and just having people come together again. So I want to continue that, and hopefully come to 2022, we'll be back to where we were.
David,
Lord
you
picked a really good guy, you know. Wow.
you have been involved in a while. Tell me from a perspective as the business member, what what do you think is the biggest attribute of the chamber? What's important from the Chamber of Commerce for you as a business person?
I think it's a combination of the advocacy for businesses. You fight, the entire staff fights. Sylvia, Jack, everyone is there every day doing everything you can for small business. I think that's the biggest thing. But on top of that, it's just the camaraderie. Like I always tell people when I do a chamber event, I go to a chamber event, I don't try to sell anything. I don't try to promote my business. I just go there to enjoy fellowship, have fun, and business happens. But business doesn't happen unless you're a member. If you're a member, you're going to open the door to be involved in activities that you normally don't get.
You know, it's such a great statement that you make, David, because you mentioned Jack and Sylvia. They are there to help members. I have never picked up the phone, or in my case, I'll kind of knock on the door and bother Jack. How you doing, Jack? And say, hey, Jack, I need your help. Will you do something? He's the first one out of his chair and said, sure, I'll be more than happy to help you. Matter of fact, Sylvia, I gave her a project. She's responsible for watering the flowers. And she said, no problem, Joe. We're joking about it. But the point that I'm making is they really are there, the support staff, and, of course, Bill. Where do you get 3 people for the cost of a chamber membership to be able to help you do something like that?
And you're actually Gail Williams. Shout out to Gail. Gail actually is nursing an injury. Gail fell and fractured her hip, and so well wishes and best wishes to her speedy recovery. Another member of our staff, and well wishes to her. But David, a while ago we did something that was fantastic. Share what we did at 4 o'clock today and the feelings you had as the incoming chair making those presentations.
Oh, it was tremendous. You know, once again, walking into a room and seeing a room filled again is amazing without everyone wearing masks. So that was an amazing scene, and the turnout was phenomenal. But we had our small business awards for the 4 Lake Norman towns. And all of the applicants that applied were all strong candidates, but we dug down deep to find the ones that really made an impact in this community. And it was tremendous to have the support of the town officials, the mayors, everyone in the room. And it's a real honor. It's a real honor to be honored by your Chamber of Commerce.
Yep. And we're going to have more written up about them and get that out to the website. David, we got a great program coming up in just a few weeks. June 25th, we have all the fun without the run. Talk about the 0K, because you were a big part of last year's success.
I love that idea. That was Julie told me that she wanted me to sign up for that, and I told her I think I'm going to be involved in that and sit down and eat a pizza during the run. I thought that was a phenomenal idea. Talk about that. I loved it.
We had somebody call the chamber today to ask how far they had to go, and we said, well, the starting
refrigerator
go up and then to the picnic table. But talk about the 0K. What's happening with the 0K?
Well, no, that was a great event. It was a great idea, especially during COVID time last year, where it was hard to meet in person. It was hard to socially distance yourself. It was one of the few fundraisers you could actually do that was outdoors, and you could still control the flow of people. And the way we did it last year was just having different times set up so we would keep in line with the government regulations. We'd have groups of people meeting at different times, and they'd go to the start-finish line, and everyone would line up, and we had the starter from the range at Lake Norman shooting the gun, ready, set, go, done, over, now go drink a beer at Lost Worlds. And that's what we did. And
That's my kind of event.
It was tremendous. In a very short amount of time, we had probably about over 100 participants, both virtually and in person. And there was more in person than virtual. There's probably like 65. And now we have the same event going on in a more normalized time. And it's going to be June 24th at Lost Worlds Brewing in Cornelius. And please come out and support. It's the easiest run you'll ever do in your life.
You know, Dave, really what we're talking about is, Bill, you and I, evidence of the pandemic has moved us in a direction we'd have never gone, but there's some stuff that's going to stick around.
Yeah,
You know, there's some things that we actually like that actually work. You could have never got me to support a virtual small business event or a 0K, right? But now that they've happened out of necessity, you're kind of like, this is pretty cool. I really like this.
Yeah, it was a great time, and looking forward to doing it again.
Again, this year's 0K, last year's the entry fee did not include a beverage. We had folks who participated said, here, we're meeting a lost world, and you're not going to have a beverage. This year's entry fee includes that. We also have a flight. Talk about what, if you're a business, you could actually have a flight. Explain that.
Exactly. So it's kind of a cool play on words, because when you go to a brewery, you can get a flight of beer, and you can get your selections of different ales you can choose. We're doing the same thing, but we're calling a flight of people. So if you're a business and you want to support the 0K even more, you can do a group of 5 for a discounted rate. So instead of doing individual, you can bring your company. You could bring other people from your company. You could bring more of your family members, your friends, civic organizations. And I think that was a brilliant idea, and I think that's going to work out really well for us.
Joe, we're getting back to some of the programs that we weren't able to have last year. We didn't get the January banquet in, but in July we're coming back with our an annual awards luncheon, because even though it was a tough year for a lot of folks, we still had outstanding business leaders that did some really great things. We had some community leaders that really stepped up. We're going to have a Duke Citizen of the Year, so we're going to have that luncheon.
I'll tell you something, Bill. One thing I've learned, there are a lot of small businesses that have done exceptionally well, and there are a lot of small businesses that have really it's been a challenge.
Sure.
So there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen, and what better place to do that than all of us come together and let's see if we can help each other figure out a way through some of the things that have been challenges. Because in my case, I had literally, Julie and I had one of, if not the best year I've ever had last year. And I'm telling you something, at the first 4 months of the year, I thought I was never going to sell another business. So it's not as if those of you that are doing well are extra smart, and those of you that are doing poorly don't know what you're doing. It is a very challenging time, and things like this and events like this are exactly what are going to help you figure out your way through this.
Joe, not only that, in September we're coming back with our diversity luncheon, where we recognize the outstanding individual, corporation, nonprofit, small business that demonstrates inclusivity and also diversity in their workforce. We're coming after that. We'll have our public safety luncheon, recognizing the outstanding police and fire in each of our 3 towns of Cornelius, Davis, and Huntersville. In November, we're going to have the Educator of the Year luncheon that we have, recognizing the outstanding CMS teacher, charter school, and also private school. So we've got some outstanding events coming up. So I encourage people to go to the website.
Dave, you understand when he says we, you understand, Dave.
Jack and Sylvia,
That's right. I was thinking you're on that list too, buddy. I just want
But a lot of great things, so I encourage you to go to lakenormanchamber.org to see all the activities. David, we have a real treat coming up right now. You want to tell us what we're fixing to see?
Sure. I'm honored to be able to introduce the next topic for tonight. We're going to have, we're welcoming the Honorable Tom Tillis, Senator from North Carolina, here on video.
Hi, Tom Tillis here. It's an honor to join the Lake Norman Chamber to honor our small businesses. I know this past year has been very difficult for so many of you and your employees as we all battled COVID-19. Creation of the Paycheck Protection Program, and I also listened to the feedback of North Carolinians and went back to Washington to help pass a number of improvements.
challenge getting Tom Tillis back. You know, this will be the 4th time. This will be the 4th time I've either hung up on Tom Tillis or, I mean, for some reason he keeps accepting us, even though I go through these challenges with him. So, Chris, if you'll let me know when we've got it, we've got it. Okay, so let me just say this. I'm getting information from my nieces, so I'm going to blow them a kiss to all of my nieces because they say I make funny faces on Facebook. I don't think that was a compliment that they said that right now.
I think
you
the
understand?
funny face is something you have all the time.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
I walked right into that, didn't I?
Yeah.
You know, Let's talk about Tom Tillis just a little bit. Now that I've blown my kiss to my
Hi,
nieces,
Tom.
Every time we ask him to help, he's here, Bill. I mean, you had him on Focus Friday last week, and literally answered every question that was asked of him.
You know, and one of the topics that he talked about, and one of the things that I'm hearing from small business owners is the fact that we can't get some of the businesses back open because we don't have the employees going back to work. And we have got to fix that situation. When you're paying somebody maybe $16 to work, $14 to stay home, they're going to stay home. We've got to get the employees back to work, and Tom was addressing that.
Let's do it. I think we've got Tom on now.
Hi, Tom Tillis here. It's an honor to join the Lake Norman Chamber to honor our small businesses. I know this past year has been very difficult for so many of you and your employees as we all battled COVID-19. I was proud to support the creation of the Paycheck Protection Program, and I also listened to the feedback of North Carolinians and went back to Washington to help pass a number of improvements to the program. In total, more than 200,000 North Carolina businesses received the Paycheck Protection Program loans, helping save more than 1 million jobs. We've seen the determination and resilience of small businesses that help them survive, and I believe it's now up to Washington to make sure that we have a business climate that allows them to prosper. That's why I'm determined to support policies that will get more Americans back into the workforce. And while I'll oppose raising any taxes on your small business at the worst possible time. Tonight you'll hear from Chuck Gallagher. Chuck will touch on his personal experiences and share ways that you can stand out from the competition. I hope you enjoy it.
And we are back. Thank you, Tom Tillis. Bill, again, I cannot tell you how comforting it is that we have access to a North Carolina senator to tell him about the problems. And here's what's really comfortable. Not that he listens, that he really understands.
Sure.
I mean, and so that really is important. And then for us in the community, how great is it that he's a neighbor? And so it really does matter because when we say and connect, he really understands what it is we're trying to say. And when we want him to connect, we get that connection.
You know, Thomas sharing the other day that he goes down to the Harris Teeter and he shops in the grocery store with the rest of us, and he sees the constituents out there, and he's able to sit down and talk to them. He is someone who came through the Cornelius Parks and Rec and Cornelius Commissioner and through the North Carolina House, but very
Go on.
very accessible.
No. Say it.
Speaker of the House.
No. Say how he got his start. Go on. I want you to let everybody on the book know how Tom Tillis actually became the North Carolina senator. Go ahead. Take credit for this.
Are you going to say he came to the Lake Norman Institute of Political
Yes,
Leadership?
Yes, I am. Bill Russell is the political master of the area. He is my mentor. I'm his mentee when it comes to politicians. And Tom Tillis is your mentee when it comes to politics.
Oh, absolutely not true. Are you kidding me? No. Tom Tillis had the skill set long before Bill Russell.
He has surpassed your knowledge, Bill.
Oh, well, he surpassed me at the word go. But we're very fortunate to have somebody like Tom involved. And again, he has an outstanding staff as well. So if you have a problem from a business perspective, you need to get to Tom. He has a very accessible staff that can get before it's senators.
And I know that for sure because we had him on the show about 4 or 5 months ago in the middle of the pandemic, and there's so many small business people wanting to understand PPP, and he didn't give any mumbo-jumbo, tomfoolery, ballyhoo. He said, call me at this number. I will solve your problem. North Carolina is one of the top states to get PPP money. He absolutely stood up and defended every single small business person from the beginning this program was put in place. Plus, he's one of the founding people on the CARES Act to actually create help where help is really needed. And I'm a firm believer in that.
And I'm also impressed with his role with the judiciary. Being on that committee in the Senate. So done a fantastic job. Great representative for us. Joe,
It's time to move on, bud.
Another big treat we have.
Oh, this is bigger than big. This is superior big. Go on. I don't want you to mess up your intro. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Tracy Alston is a licensed clinical mental health counselor, a mental fitness consultant, and a board certified in biofeedback and neurofeedback, a radio host and a podcaster for the Mental Fitness Matter show on WSIC radio station that airs weekly on Thursdays from 8:30 to 9 a.m. on 105.9, 100.7 FM, and 1400 AM. Tracy's also an entrepreneur and a founder and CEO of two companies located in Mooresville and Cornelius, New Mentality and Mental Edge Fitness Solutions. Tracy's a former basketball player and a college graduate of Wake Forest University, and she's passionate about creating innovative strategies and solutions for improving the mental health and mental fitness of her clients. Joe, we have Tracy Alston.
Now it's my turn to say something.
You, please.
I'm gonna trump all that. I love Tracy. When we put this thing together, Tracy was the number one person that we chose to kick this event off. You are getting ready for a phenomenal person, a phenomenal woman. Tracy is a person that brightens the entire room when she steps into it. It is a phenomenal coup, I should say, that we get her to start this small business event. It is it's just a great treat.
And Joe, we could probably spend an hour talking about his mental fitness, couldn't we, Tracy?
Take it away, Tracy. It's all yours.
I can't thank you guys enough, number one, for allowing me to be a part of such a spectacular event, as Joe would say. It really is truly an honor to be with you guys tonight and people joining via Zoom, Facebook. The way I normally introduce myself is a hey, hey. So I'm going to give everybody a hey, hey as I'm talking to you. Feel good, work good, and achieve intentional success. I got to say that one more time. Feel good, work good, and achieve intentional success. I love the intentionality behind the theme of tonight's program. It's so intentional. A lot of the things that I do from a business perspective, when I'm working with my families, my clients, I say the better you feel, the better you perform. The better you feel, the better you perform. So when we say feel good and put that first, recognizing the importance of how we feel dictates everything thereafter. You can't show up and work and perform at a peak level if you don't feel good on the inside. And when I got a chance and the opportunity to do this tonight, especially around the mental health awareness, in case you guys don't know, mental health is the month of May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month right now. And this past year, as you all know, has been a challenge for businesses, for families, for individuals, for children, for schools. Everyone has felt the impact of what has been COVID-19. So when we think about the importance and the necessary need to focus on our mental wellness, I don't think it's in my 11 years of clinical practice. So my background, I'm a licensed clinical mental health therapist, board certified in bio and neurofeedback. So I have ways to identify and see how the brain and body respond to stress. In my 11 years of practice, I have never heard the word stress, anxiety, depression, mental health, sleep issues, substance abuse, suicide. I've never heard those words so many times in my professional career than right now. And the sad part about that is it takes an event like COVID to bring some of the conversations that we should have been having all along to the forefront. But here we are. And I am so glad that we have the opportunity to start to talk about mental health. And my job, my passion, my purpose is to help people understand that our mental health and our mental fitness is just as important as our physical health and physical fitness. When you think about mental health and when you think about your physical health and your emotional health, your financial health, we're all on a spectrum somewhere. Think about that for a moment. We're all on a spectrum somewhere. So with all the things going on this year, before I get into what that spectrum looks like, I want you to just take a moment to pause and do a mental check-in with yourself right now. If you had to do a brief scan of your mind and a brief scan of your body, how would you say that you feel? So when you think about that mental check-in, identify right now, do you have racing thoughts? Have you been so consumed with the work and the day-to-day, the busyness of life, the things to get done, that your mind races from one task to another? Are you scrolling through social media, Instagram, emails 24/7 without a mental break? So assess, how am I doing mentally? Scale of 1 to 10. Give yourself permission. If I was at a 10, performing at my peak, I feel clear, I feel sharp, I feel confident, I feel happy, I feel successful, I feel gratitude. If I'm on the lower end of that spectrum, I feel down. Trouble getting motivated. I'm exhausted mentally, more agitated, irritated, angry, frustrated. So start to assess, how am I doing from a mental perspective? Then do a check-in with your body. From a physical perspective, how are you feeling? Are you tired? Are you fatigued? Are you sore? Do you have an injury of some sort? So when you think about your mental health and being on a spectrum, it all lines up somewhere. So we have to begin to normalize this conversation, guys, so that we know how to begin to treat it and take care of ourselves. When you think about your body and your overall physical wellness goals, you're on a spectrum somewhere. So if you're wanting to lose weight, gain weight, you put the necessary tools in place to do that, right? You do an assessment to figure out where you are, and then you put a game plan in place to get you to reach your goals. Mental health is no different. Your brain is like a muscle. It's something that can be trained and strengthened for peak performance. You can put the necessary tools in place depending on where you are on this mental health spectrum. Let's say if your mental health is declining, meaning you're feeling more sad most of the time, hard to get motivated, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're fatigued. I'm pretty sure we can all agree with those types of feelings right about now, right? Especially when we talk about our small businesses and entrepreneurs. They're the backbone of our communities. They're struggling. You got to start to not only check in with yourself, but if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, what about the mental fitness of your team? What about the mental fitness of your team? My guy, Danny Decker's coming up here next, and I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about some systems to put in place for your marketing strategy, but you need some systems to put in place for your mental fitness strategy. Because your entrepreneurs, your employees, the people that are in your family, in the school systems, there's a mental fitness dilemma going on here. People are tired and exhausted, okay? So we have to begin to say, where am I on this spectrum of mental health? If you want to get better, you want to perform better, you want to feel happier, more positive, more confident, more assertive, there's tools that we can put in place to help train your brain to really reach its peak potential. And that's what I do on a daily basis. So I encourage you, as we're starting to think about our brain being a muscle, and if that's the first time you've heard that, that's great. Because now you can begin to really do a deep dive and assessment on a daily basis. How's my brain functioning? On a day-to-day basis, am I clear? Am I focused? Am I inspired? Am I creative? Or am I bogged down? Or am I exhausted? Or I'm drained and I'm not really looking forward to the next days of life? Those are all indications of how you're going to perform and how you can perform from a longevity standpoint, okay? So feel good, work good to achieve intentional success. The better we feel, the better we perform. My companies specialize in helping people optimize their mental fitness so they can perform at their peak in what they do. So whether you're a student, whether you're an athlete, entrepreneur, business professional, stay-at-home mom, family, just trying to get through the stressors of life, you can benefit from training your brain. We all can. So when you think about our biggest asset, it's our mind. Our biggest asset is our mind. I don't care what else you have going on. If we're not taking care of ourselves, guys, from a cognitive and emotional perspective, nothing else matters. And this past year was a true test of that. I don't know if I've ever seen so much overwhelming stress from our youth. It manifests itself in so many ways, whether that's just a stomach ache, whether it's just a headache, whether it's not wanting to get out of bed, like you normally do, kind of isolated from friends and family. These are all indicators, guys, that something else may be going on. And it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to seek out supports and resources for that. My company's New Mentality and Mental Edge Fitness Solutions, we specialize in giving people alternative ways to look at the brain and body through what's called bio and neurofeedback. We can see what's going on with the brain in real time. We can see how your body's responding from a physiological standpoint as it relates to stress. With that information, we can create protocols and programs to help you get to where you want to be from maximizing your performance mentally, which then allows you to feel good, which allows you to go out here and work good and then intentionally achieve success. So I want to give you a quick tip, all right? Quick tip. Something that everybody can do, because a lot of times when we are laying in bed at night and when we wake up for the first thing in the morning, it's such an easy thing for us to do, to pick up our cell phones and start scrolling through the email list and the things that we have to do today, check social media, check your text messages. But I want to give you guys a little insight about your brain. Your brain goes through one of the most creative states that it has, which is called an alpha theta state when you're first waking up in the morning. I want to encourage you on how to use that state that you go through naturally to allow that to be a time of just calm and creativity that allows you to set the tone for your day, okay? So instead of waking up when that alarm goes off and picking up your phone and scrolling through social media, I don't want you to do that. When that alarm goes off, allow you to kind of stay in that drowsy, kind of sleepy state, but spend that first 10 to 15 minutes before you do anything else. Allow your brain to just go and create. You may be in a nice, restful, peaceful state. Just allow your thoughts to flow. Allow the alpha theta, the natural parts of the brain, to just operate and move in a direction that they want to go. You're going to become more creative. You're going to recognize, instead of being taken over by the energetic tone of the world first thing in the morning, because remember, a lot of times we're responding to emails and text messages and fires we need to put out. That can wait. A lot of times our day is dictated before you even hit the floor because you've picked up your cell phone trying to answer things that you can't control. So give yourself permission the first 5 to 15 minutes before you do anything else. Don't let that energetic tone step into your space. You set the tone. Get into a mental space, allowing yourself to rest, to get creative, to get excited about what the day's going to hold. Be intentional about what you want to accomplish for today. Start that process then. Then when you get up out of bed, you're going to be much better equipped mentally to handle whatever you're faced with. Okay, so that's my mental fitness tip for today. You can tune in to the Mental Fitness Matters show. It's also a podcast. Download it, subscribe. Please leave some feedback there. You can tune in, get some tips, strategies, and solutions to improve your mental health and mental fitness. And I encourage you guys to visit TracyAustin.com. If you're listening to this right now, I want to hear from you. Reach out to me and say, I heard you on the Small Business Talk Show program on this Wednesday night. And if you reach out to me, I will give you a 15-minute free consultation to begin to have a discussion about your brain performance, your mental fitness goals, to see how I can be a support to you. I can't thank you guys enough for your time and making your mental fitness a priority in 2021. This has been a year, but allow this to be the year that the rest of your life changes. And going forward, you take care of your mental fitness so that you can best serve those that you're a part of. Thank you.
And now you see why I love Tracy Austin. She is absolutely phenomenal. Grab that mic when you come over. She is absolutely awesome. My phone is just blowing up with texts, people saying, wow, I really need, I see why you like her, Joe. Bill, this is just the beginning of what we've got for this small business event.
Joe, this afternoon, I told you to bring your A game. She brought her A game.
She brought her A game.
She brought her
Tracy
A game.
always brings her A game.
Best, Joe. I think people need to know.
I want everybody to know you're my mentee. I want everybody to understand. I believe I found Tracy. You understand that, don't you? I don't know how we met, but I remember the minute you were on the show. Yeah. The minute you were on the show, Julie sent me a text. She's going to be your next co-host. And I text her back, I agree. She's awesome. And we've just hit it off ever since then. So it is such a inspiration to see you and your business continue to grow. But before we talk about that, look in the camera. Let's tell Pops how to you.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Daddy.
I love
You're the man, Pops, and you have done a spectacular job with Tracy. We love her. So thank you so much, honey.
Thank you.
So talk a little bit about, you and I have talked about this, right?
Yes.
It's kind of up and down, right? I lost about 80 pounds, Then I started eating the duds, beans, balls, and
Balls and
pieces.
pieces.
That's
Duds,
right.
beans, balls, and pieces.
And you say, well, Joe, you can always just get right back on it again and then get started again with that. Kind of talk about that, because that kind of hit home for me, because after you grab into that box of milk duds, you're like, well, what the heck?
Right.
I might as well go for the beans and the Reese's Pieces too now. And you say, no, stop there, start over again. Talk about that.
When we think about performance and accomplishing or achieving any of the goals we have set for ourselves, I think where we get in this rabbit race is that we set up for a 10-week program and you get started off on day one, you're energized, you're motivated, you're ready to go. That's why sales and marketing work well, because people get excited in the moment. And then an hour later, they're bored and they're back to doing something else. So thinking about our own goals in that way, not having to be so long and put out, let's win the moment. When we think about our brain's capacity,
Win the moment.
If you went an hour and didn't pick up the duds, beans, balls, and pieces, you won the moment. And we fail to give ourselves credit for that moment because we're so focused on the long-term goal. But in the end of that, you can set yourself up for just feeling bad, feeling unaccomplished, feeling like a failure. And so as an entrepreneur and business owner, I use that same mental strategy every day, because there's ups and downs to business, there's ups and downs to life, but I'm winning moments, and that's the impact, and that's the momentum I want to build off of.
Tracy, I've gone through this year, and I've been concerned for the business owners, but I'll tell you, the thing that keeps me up at night, Joe, is I've been thinking of these 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. The social interaction, it's not just what they learn at school, it's the social interaction at school that they missed out on for over a year. Can you talk about that? Because you were sharing a little bit about the youth. That's my biggest concern.
And it's huge, and we don't even really know the impact yet, right? So the numbers really aren't in terms of what this whole pandemic is going to look like as it relates to mental health, not only for our adults, but for our youth especially. And when we think about brain development, the brain doesn't fully develop until you're around 25, 26. So there's a lot of connections being made, and a bunch of their connections are being made socially. So when we remove that component, right, and when we think about the neural networks and the connections being made, it's not necessarily happening. And so that's why we're seeing the numbers of anxiety and depression go up, because those connections are not being formed.
You hit on something.
Joe, my business career, I understood rejection from when I was in high school. That's where I learned rejection.
Right.
But so I am concerned about that, because you're right. We may not know the impact that this type of mental attitude has had on these kids until maybe a decade from now.
So listen to this.
Yeah.
This is the text I just got. This is what you're all about. A woman texts, just had a great conversation with my daughter. We're going to start our day differently.
Oh.
That's what this is all about.
Thank
so
you
talk
for
about that,
sharing.
because it's actually speaking to what Bill's talking about as well.
Yeah. So I love whoever sent that message and the incorporation of your child in your morning routine, because when you think about being able to make a connection and an impact in that way, it is life-changing. You may not, and this is what we have to know too, that it's the small steps that make the biggest impact. It's not going to be something overnight that you see these results. Give yourself permission, step by step, moment by moment. Being intentional about the action that you're doing and being consistent with that leads to positive results.
And Tracy is the one that makes it happen. I can't thank you enough. Is there any last minute something that you would like to say to the people out there? Because it really, everybody says it. Yeah. Been a challenging year. Yeah. But really, you hit on something, which is we kind of almost want to walk past it. Bill, you and I growing up, just rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
Walk it off.
Right.
Why are you worried about that?
Right.
Well,
but
you kind of can't do that.
That's right.
With something like this.
Because every engine eventually breaks down if we don't stop in and get maintenance, right? So give yourself permission and think of yourself in your brain like the engine of your car. It needs a tune-up every now and then. You're valuable and you're worthy of the tune-up. So make sure you're doing that check-in with yourself, with your family, and then if you need additional supports, it's okay. We all do, and so just don't hesitate to reach out. Make this year a self-care priority.
And Tracy, I love the word intentional.
I do too. That's just,
Thank you so much,
thank
Tracy.
you guys. Love
and
you.
that's why she was and is #1 on Small Business Week.
And I appreciate you so much.
Darling. So, Bill, we got to do this again. Hang on, buddy, because we're just getting started.
Oh, yes, we are. But we got a fantastic speaker coming up. Danny Decker, serial entrepreneur, speaker, author, and marketing consultant. Danny is the host of Marketing Simplified podcast, and his book, Marketing Simplified, is available through Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com and other retailers. In addition, Danny coaches business owners and entrepreneurs one-on-one through the process of developing and implementing their strategic marketing plan. You can learn more about Danny at www.dannydeckermarketing.com. We have Danny Decker.
And there's a reason why Danny is number 2 on our list for Small Business Week. When I have a challenge or a marketing question, I call Danny. When I'm not sure exactly how to make something work or something happen or whether it fits or whether it's worth it, I call Danny. Of all of the marketing people I know, Danny is the one guy that seems to have answers, and it's simple answers that a guy like Joe can understand. The evidence of that is his book. I read it cover to cover before you make fun of me and suggest I don't read, okay? Because I know that's what you want to do.
I've got a lot of things I want to say, and I won't say them.
But Danny's book is phenomenal. It's just a great a bunch of information and tips, and it's direct. It's to the point. And Danny and I have formed a relationship over the years, and we've just thought so much of him. Danny was going to be one of our keynote speakers on the year we had to cancel last year. When we had to cancel the Peninsula Club and turned it into virtual and couldn't find a way to make that work. So we are so happy to have Danny here. Danny, I am proud and honored to have you as a friend, and I hope everybody gets to see the value that I see in you helping small businesses, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Floor
guys.
is yours, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. And as always, it's a pleasure to share a stage with Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, for the pep talk and getting us all fired up and getting us focused on what really matters from a mental health perspective. So I'm going to talk to you guys about marketing for about the next 20 minutes here. And before I get into it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So I spent about 10 years from 2009 to 2019 building a marketing agency. Started with 2 guys in the spare bedroom of my apartment in Miami, Florida, and ended up building a 7-figure marketing agency with a fantastic team of 10 full-time employees, clients all over the country. I personally was involved in executing hundreds of marketing campaigns for my own business, tens of thousands of campaigns over a 10-year period of time for our clients. And in that time, I learned a thing or two about what works and what doesn't. And in 2019, I made the decision to sell my marketing agency and step into a new venture, because what I realized in the course of those 10 years is, while there are business owners out there who have a great business and are serving their clients and are doing great things, there's a mental block around marketing, and so many people are lost when it comes to marketing, and so many business owners aren't able to reach their full potential because they never figure out the secret sauce of marketing. So I took about a year off. I wrote a book called Marketing Simplified, and what I do now is focus on helping business owners understand the strategies and the concepts behind marketing so that they can go out and hire a marketing agency or hire a marketing assistant or do it themselves. However it's going to get done, the bottom line is you got to start with the right strategy in place. And so what I do now, and what I'm honored to do, is work with business owners, entrepreneurs, 6-figure business owners, 7-figure business owners, a few 8-figure business owners, helping them create real marketing strategies that drive growth for their business. And here's the thing, and here's why I'm pumped to do what I do every day and pumped to be here with all of you tonight. Marketing is so much more than just earning some more money for your business. It's so much more than just dollars and cents. Marketing is how you impact the world around you. As a business owner, you solve problems. Tracy was just up here speaking into the incredible problems that she solves as a business owner. And all of you listening, every one of you, if you work in a small business, if you own a small business, if you manage a small business, you are in business because you solve problems for your customers and clients. I want you to solve more of those problems. I want you to help more people. I want you to take your message to a larger audience so you can make a bigger impact. Not only does better marketing allow you to make a bigger impact on your customers and your clients. It allows you to bring more revenue into your business. And when you bring more revenue into your business, you can hire more people. You can invest in better equipment. You contribute more tax revenue for the roads and the bridges and all the things we need in our community. You make your own life better. You make life better for your employees. You make life better for your kids. Everybody wins when you do a better job of marketing your business and getting the word out there. So I am pumped to be here talking about marketing, and I hope that you guys can feel the excitement and understand the big picture of how marketing not only is great for you, but is great for your community and everybody around you. So the theme tonight, total business wellness. And what better place to start than with a wellness check of your marketing? How well is your marketing performing? What are you doing now that's working, and what could you be doing better? So I'm going to run through 5 quick questions for everybody, and what I want you to do is pull out a piece of paper and number 1 through 5, and each one of these items, I want you to give yourself a thumbs up or a neutral or a thumbs down, and everywhere where you're neutral or thumbs down, you know there's opportunity to improve. So here is what your marketing should be doing for you. Number 1, your marketing should deliver a steady stream of new leads who convert into customers, clients, members, subscribers, whatever it is that you're selling. The job of your marketing, it's not just about a sign that looks pretty. It's not just about a website that looks pretty. It's not just about a logo. Your marketing exists to drive a steady stream of customers and clients into your business. Is your marketing doing that? Can you go to sleep at night knowing that next month you don't have to stress about your revenue goals because you have a marketing machine working for you? Thumbs up, thumbs down, somewhere in the middle. How are you doing with that? Number 2, your marketing should attract the right prospects into your business and keep everybody else away. One of the secrets of success when you're building a business is understanding that you got to hone in on the right customers. Don't try to serve everybody. It's a big mistake. You need to get crystal clear who are the right clients, who are the right customers for your business. How can you create a brand and a marketing system that attracts those people and doesn't attract everybody else? And it's okay that you're not speaking to everybody. You can't be everything to everybody. Let's just take an example. Think about the difference between a Walmart on one hand and a Neiman Marcus on another hand. There is a time and place for both of those businesses. They're both phenomenally successful businesses. They serve very different needs and they serve very different clientele. So as a business owner, it's really important that you get clear on who you want to serve. And there's a demographic component of that where you say, all right, my ideal customers are women between the ages of 30 and 45 in the Lake Norman area, who are going through a divorce or who are trying to lose weight or who own a business or whatever the case may be. You get crystal clear on the demographics and you get clear on the psychographics as well. What are their values? What are their hobbies? What do they do with their spare time? How can you get crystal clear on who you serve in your business? I have about 25 minutes here. I can't possibly go deep enough into this. What I do want to do right now is tell you, I wrote a book called Marketing Simplified, and in that book, I go through this process in great detail. Great detail. There's a chart that you can download that helps you think through this process. You can get this book on Amazon, or Joe asked me if I would be willing to make it available to attendees of this event. And I said, Joe, I don't give anything away for free. And he said, but come on, you owe me for this one. You're putting me on stage here. These are all my close personal friends. Help them out. And so here's what I did. If you go to DannyDeckerMarketing.com/LKN, you can actually download a free digital copy of this book. That is something I've not done before. I'm not going to do it again. Midnight tomorrow, it comes down. But if we could, Julie or somebody on the team, if we could drop that link in the comments, go pick it up, completely free, no strings attached. You'll get a lot more depth into these concepts that I'm covering at a high level. It's DannyDeckerMarketing.com/LKN. And then you can send Joe a thank you note because he made it possible. Okay, so your marketing needs to attract the right prospects and keep everybody else away. That's number 2. Are you getting the right prospects into your business, or are you getting a bunch of prospects who don't want to pay your rates or don't see the value in what you do or have a different problem than the problem that your business is meant to solve, right? Good marketing attracts the right people, and it doesn't attract the wrong people. Number 3, your marketing should free you up from the burden of competing on price. Let me tell you, there's nothing more frustrating as a business owner than feeling like the only way you can win a new deal, the only way you can close a sale, the only way you can get a new customer is by being cheaper than everybody else. It's a bad place to be. It's real hard to build and scale a business when you are operating on razor-thin margins. Good, solid, effective marketing builds a brand that positions you as a premium place in the market so you can command higher rates. It distinguishes you from the competition so you can't have an apples to apples comparison. The whole thing here is if you give a customer a choice between 2 apples that look exactly the same and one's cheaper than the other, they're going to choose the cheaper one every time. You would too, I would too. You can't blame them. What you got to do is position yourself as different. Don't allow that apples to apples comparison, and your marketing hones in on what makes you different, what makes you unique, so that you can't make those pricing comparisons with anybody else. So how are you doing? Is your marketing allowing you to charge premium rates so that you can actually have a real profit margin in your business and reinvest back into your growth? Or is your marketing not doing that and you find yourself having to lower your prices and compete for every sale by trying to be cheaper than the guy down the street? Number 4, you should be able to dial your marketing up when you need it and dial it back down when you don't. If you're looking ahead at your cash flow forecast for the next 12 weeks and you see that you've got a little bit of a cash crunch coming up, if you have a strong marketing system in place, you don't have to panic. You just turn that dial and get those campaigns out there and start that lead flow back up to your business. A mature marketing system can be dialed up and dialed back down. And let me tell you, when you get to the point where your marketing can be dialed up and dialed down on command, you sleep a whole hell of a lot better at night because you don't have to worry about, can I meet payroll next Friday? You have a marketing machine that can do that for you. So thumbs up, thumbs down, somewhere in the middle if that's an opportunity for growth for you. And number 5, and possibly my favorite, your marketing should be able to function largely without your direct involvement as a business owner. That is the killer, because as a small business owner, you wear about 17 hats every single day. You're the receptionist, you're the bookkeeper, you're the HR manager, your customer service, you're probably finance, you're doing it all. And if your marketing is one of 15 things that you got to do every day, well, when it comes 6 p.m. and you've been working a 10-hour day and you still haven't gotten through your to-do list, I promise you marketing is going to be the thing that doesn't get done. Marketing is one of those things that is important, but it's not urgent. Think about that urgency versus importance quadrant. Marketing is critically important, but it's not urgent. And so as a business owner, when you're fighting fires all day long, it's the thing that gets neglected in favor of the things that are urgent. So your marketing needs to function largely without you, whether that means using automation, whether that means you have a rock star marketing assistant on your team who can keep the trains rolling, whether that means you're working with some vendors that you really trust that can get the job done. Whatever the case may be, I promise you, if your marketing rests on your shoulders, it's not happening as much as it should be. It's just not, I promise you. So can you get your marketing off your shoulders and onto other people's shoulders who can focus on that so that you can focus on everything else that comes with running a business? So give yourself a thumbs up, thumbs down, or somewhere in the middle, depending on how you're doing with that. So number 1 was your marketing should deliver a steady stream of new leads. Number 2, your marketing should attract the right prospects and keep everybody else away. Number 3, your marketing should free you up from competing on price. Number 4, you should be able to dial it up and dial it back down depending on the needs and the capacity and the usability rate in your business. And number 5, your marketing should largely function without your day-to-day involvement as a business owner. Now listen, if you didn't score real well, that's totally fine. That just means you've got an opportunity for growth. We've got 7 months left in the year, so let's kick some ass the rest of the year. And when we talk next year, I want you to be able to score yourself thumbs up on all 5 of those things. But I'm going to do you one better than that. We've got a little time left here. So again, apologies in advance. I'm not going to be able to get through everything I wanted to share with you guys today. Marketing Simplified, you can get a digital download completely free, DannyDeckerMarketing.com/LKN. It's basically a manual that is going to go in depth into everything that I'm speeding through here tonight. All right, so how to improve your marketing. We're going to get tactical for the last few minutes here. Listen, the great thing about marketing, it's really not that complicated. There are a lot of people that like to make it real complicated. Usually it's because it's in their best interest if you as the entrepreneur don't understand how simple marketing actually is. So we're going to get real simple here. There are basically 3 leverage points that determine whether any marketing campaign succeeds or fails. Market, message, media. That is it. Market. Who are you talking to? Who are your ideal clients? Like we talked about a few minutes ago, you need to have this dialed in. You need to know exactly who your people are. Those are the people you talk to. Those are the people you want to bring into your business, and you can ignore everybody else. You have to be crystal clear on who is your target audience. And then number 2, once you're clear on that, you need to create a message that resonates distinctly with that specific target audience. You need to speak their language. Effective marketing is not about how great you are as a business owner. Frankly, your customers and clients don't really care about your business. They are interested in solving problems in their life and seizing opportunities in their life. So you lose as a marketer when you talk about how great you are, your business is. You win as a marketer, as a business owner, when you talk to your ideal clients about how you're going to solve the problems that keep them up at night. It's not about how great you are. It's about how great you're going to make life for your customers and clients once they start doing business with you. Right? That is a fundamental transformation. Most people think that marketing is just about how great I am, how great my business is. I've been doing this for 20 years, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? The only relevance of that information is how you're going to take your 20 years of experience and put it into service, solving problems for your clients and customers. So take a look right now, look at your website, take a look at your social media accounts, take a look at your email, and run everything through that prism. Are you talking about how great you are, or are you talking about how you're going to solve problems for your ideal clients and customers? And again, when you're clear about who those people are, and when you build a detailed profile of who those people are, it becomes a whole lot easier to speak their language and speak to the problems that they are experiencing. So, market, message, media. Media is simply how you deliver your message to your target audience. Don't make it any more complicated than that. Media could be Facebook. Some of you are watching this on Facebook right now. Your media could be on the radio. Media could also be face-to-face networking. It's not complicated. Media is just how do you deliver that message to those people. That's it. And so that depends on, the question you have to answer is, where do your ideal clients spend their time? What websites do they visit? What radio shows do they listen to? What networking events do they go to? What podcasts do they listen to? What books do they read? You need to know this information about your ideal client, because that's where you need to show up. Take your message, deliver it to your market using the media sources that make sense for your market. And here's the thing, and this is where it gets interesting, and this is a mindset shift I want everyone listening to understand. Marketing is closer to poker than it is to chess. And quite frankly, running a business is a lot closer to poker than it is to chess. And here's what I mean by that. For anybody that is out there that doesn't really know how chess works and how poker works, chess is a game with no variables. It is a purely skill-based equation. You move your pawn here, he moves his pawn there. There's no wind that's going to come in and blow your pieces down. There's nothing random about it. It is purely a game of skill. Poker, on the other hand, is a game of skill with a hefty dose of luck and chance filtered into it. You could be sitting there with the best possible poker hand, pocket aces, and your opponent might have a 7 and a 2, which is statistically the worst poker hand, and if you go all in against that guy, you're going to lose 35% of the time. You have the best hand, he has the worst hand, you're going to lose 35% of the time. Why? Because crap happens, right? The wrong cards come out, you get unlucky. Let me tell you, if you need any evidence that that happens in the business world too, let me present to you the last 15 months as evidence. How many of you had brilliant business plans, brilliant marketing plans dialed up, and then we got hit by a pandemic that nobody saw coming, right? It happens. That's how the world works. And so what does that mean for you when you're thinking about your marketing? It means you can't put all your eggs in one basket. No matter how long you've been doing this, no matter how brilliant you are going to have marketing campaigns that fail. I have plenty of marketing campaigns that fail. If you know what you're doing and if you have the right strategy in place, you're going to win more than you lose, but you're still not going to win every time. So what does that mean? 2 things. 1, you got to have a lot of irons in the fire. You can't just put all your eggs in the Facebook ads basket or the Google ads basket because it might not work. I hate to tell it to you, but it might not work. You need to be testing multiple things, multiple campaigns, different media channels, different ways of taking your message and bringing it to your market, because some are going to work and some aren't. So you got to be testing multiple campaigns at all times. And number 2 is the way you survive as a poker player is you limit your losses. When you have a losing hand, you figure it out and you fold it. And you take your resources off the table when you have a losing campaign. Number 1 mistake most business owners make with their marketing campaigns is they're not tracking the data. They're just shoveling $800 a month, $2,000 a month into a Google campaign or a Facebook campaign, and they don't know if it's working or not. Come on, like that is how you waste your money. You have to develop the discipline. You have to understand, is it working or is it not? It's fine if it's not working. Just stop doing it. But if I ask you the question, how did your Facebook ads campaign perform last month, and you don't know how many leads it created, you don't know if those leads are qualified leads or not, you don't know how much of that translated into business, well, you're flying blind, and there's a great chance that you are wasting your money. So bottom line, you've got your message and you got to deliver it to your market, and you use media sources to get it there, and you have to develop the discipline of evaluating results month in and month out so you know what's working and you know what's not. Guys, I have more that I would love to get to. I'm not going to be able to get there right now. Marketing Simplified, go to DannyDeckerMarketing.com/LKN. You get a free copy of the book. I have a podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's called the Marketing Simplified Podcast. I talk a lot more about all this stuff. You can look me up on my website. Happy to find a way to support you however I can. So go ahead and download the book. Let me know if you have any questions. Myself or my team will get in touch with you. And that's it. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thanks, Danny. We really appreciate that, buddy. And you grab that mic and come on over, my friend. You know, but right about now, all of you that are listening and watching on Facebook are starting to get a feel for why this is a signature event every year, because it's not just anybody we let stand up on that stage. We are making sure. You give me a look, Chris. No, slide on over, Chris. We are making sure that it's some of the best, and Danny certainly is one of those people, Bill.
I'll tell you, I love the poker analogy. I believe...
You would like that, wouldn't you?
I believe in taking risk. I don't gamble. But I'll tell you, I think there's... If you're in retail sales, you have to be partnering with a marketing agency that's going to help you get to your goals. And I believe in business coaches because I think you need to be investing in yourself. But I'll tell you, Danny, I see businesses so often they understand they don't have the market they are looking for. They hire a marketing agency. They get to this particular level. And then what do? They say, "Oh, I've spent the money I need to," and they back off of their advertising. They back off of the money they're investing in the marketing agency, and then you start to see declining sales. They're like, "What's happened? Yeah. What's happened?" And you know, I see that time and again. I had a Chamber of Commerce member that said, I used the chamber to build my business. Now I don't need the Chamber of Commerce anymore. What's up with that?
Thanks for nothing.
But do you see that playing out? People who are investing in their business, using the marketing agencies, and then start to see things slip.
Yeah, Definitely, Bill, and I think that's a great observation. I think that it comes back to being clear on what you're trying to accomplish for yourself as a business owner, and what is your vision for your business. Are you trying to be a $1 million business and you're kind of just good with that, and you want to just kind of coast at that level? Are you trying to grow 20% every year? Are you intentionally scaling back down? Because there's no right or wrong size to grow a business to, right? Like, some of us want to spend 80 hours a week in their business because that's fun, and other people just want to live their life and spend their time with their family, and neither one of those is wrong. But the key is you got to be clear on what you're trying to build, and then you use your marketing to get you where you want to go. And so if you're working with a marketing agency or whatever you're doing, if you're working with a chamber to grow your business, and you get to a point where you don't want to grow any further, like, that's fine. Just coast at that level, but don't stop doing what got you there, because pretty obviously you're going to backtrack, right?
So Danny, one of the things you said to me that kind of caught me, although I agree with Bill, I was surprised you said how true it was. But I don't hear a marketing person actually say it's like poker, right? So I appreciate you being genuine, because I've been doing this for a long time, buddy. I know that it is hit or miss, but there are people that hit more than they miss.
Yeah. So I have the privilege, I'll say now, of I don't run a marketing agency anymore. I work as a strategic advisor and a strategic coach. And so I have the freedom to maybe say things that your average marketing agency isn't going to say. But that's just truth. And it's not an indictment on a marketing agency or on a marketing person if they run a campaign that fails. It just happens. The bottom line, as a business owner, you got to develop the discipline to hold those people accountable. And so you know if your campaign's failing or not.
And that's why I love Danny, because when I call you and I ask you, does this work? Does this work? What do you think? Literally, you can take I'll send you an email of 4 pages of somebody wanting to offer something to me. Danny, you'll send it back to me in 5 bullet points. You'll break it down and say, this is what you're getting. Boom, boom, boom. You decide whether it has value or not. So you have the ability to be able to do that. But what I want to talk to you about is your statement, limit your loss. Talk about what that means, right? Because I find that really an interesting statement.
Yeah. So let's say, Joe, that I run a law firm, and I want to run a Google AdWords campaign, and my goal is I'm going to spend $1,500 a month, and I want that $1,500 to bring me 5 new clients. I want to spend $300 per new client that I bring into my business. Okay, that's a reasonable goal. If that works for your metrics, and if that's an acceptable cost of acquisition, great, let's go for it. What we just did was we got clear on what we're trying to accomplish, and we put numbers to it. It's a specific, measurable goal. And then you got to develop the discipline. Every 2 weeks, every month, you got to pull up that campaign and say, all right, marketing agency, I spent my $1,500, but I only got 1 client. Or maybe you got 7 clients and you're ahead of the game, and that's awesome. But the point is, you got to develop the discipline of having that mental conversation. And when you're running a campaign that's losing, you just stop. To go back to poker, you just fold, right? Don't keep throwing good money after bad money. If you've run a campaign, you've given it a fair chance, it's not performing, pull the plug and try something else.
Here's the challenge, right? Is it the content that's not right, or is it the media that's not right? How do I, as a business person, know that? That's the challenge I run into when you say just limit your losses.
Yeah. So there are
don't
really
throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
There are some really great tools that can help you zero in on things like that. There's a tool that I love that I recommend to everybody. It's called Unbounce, and it's software that helps you test different messages. So you drive traffic to a landing page.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, and it'll test 10 different headlines, and it's going to show you which one's converting the best. And there are a lot of tools that you can use to give yourself some insight into that. Because the truth is, the beautiful thing about digital marketing in particular is it's all trackable. And so you can, by process of elimination, figure out what's working and what's not working.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So Danny, okay, first of all, I did not have to talk you into this. Let me be clear, okay? Although I did suggest it might be a good idea. Thank you for doing it.
Listen, Joe, when you ask for something, in all seriousness, I do my very best, because you are not only a great support for me, but for this entire business community. So it's my pleasure.
Share that link again, because that's what I was going to ask you. Share that.
Julie's got it on Facebook.
Okay.
If you go to Facebook right now, you can get this book digitally right now for free. And I'm telling you, I've read this book. It is phenomenal, and it is simple to understand. I mean, that's what's so interesting. I think that's why you and I connected, right? Like, I'm reading this and I'm like, this dude is just telling me like it is. He's not making it complicated.
Again, I have the privilege of not being a marketing agency.
You weren't
and
selling
so I
something
don't
when I read this book.
Right.
And I didn't feel that way.
And when somebody makes something more complicated than it needs to be, ask yourself, why are they doing it? What's in it for them? Do they benefit from you being confused? And some of the time that actually is the case. And so my whole thing is simplifying marketing and helping business owners to understand it, because like I said at the beginning, when you get your marketing figured out, that's how you scale your business and you make a bigger impact on yourself and your family and your community and your employees, and everybody wins.
And so one of the things you and I do, we do some referrals back and forth, is because I send people to you because they're not sure if they've got the right marketing person or the right marketing idea, and you will unbiasedly, is that a word, unbiasedly, tell them yes or no, this is good or bad, and you even help them find resources to make sure they're on track. That's a very unique thing that you're currently doing.
Yeah, listen, we have financial advisors, we have legal advisors. I don't know why there are not more marketing advisors out there, but there's definitely a need for it, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
You got a little niche, buddy.
Yeah, well.
Danny, I can't thank you enough, buddy. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for giving the Marketing Simplified book for free. And always, buddy, you and I just seem to be able to connect in a way that allows small business people to know that you are genuinely trying to help them. And that's why you're here, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Joe, and thank you so much, Bill.
Yeah, it's good having you. And Joe, I was giving you grief a while ago about the books. These books behind me are Joe Vagnone's. I picked up a couple a while ago, and one of the things you and I have in common is I mark my books up. I get out a highlighter and I go through there, and I'm one of the ones that highlight points. I fold pages over. I do things, and I look, and these books are all marked up and written, and I'm going like, gosh, I do the same thing. But I tell you, I can't thank you enough, Danny and Tracy, both of you, for sharing your insight and helping our business owners get to that next level.
Yeah. So, Danny, thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
So Chris, are we ready for my buddy? So, our next guest is somebody who really is not going to need an introduction. You understand?
Yeah, but he expects one.
He doesn't. So you're exactly right. Why don't you start his introduction? And then I'm going to end it, whether he likes it or not.
You know what I thought was impressive about Chuck Gallagher that I did not know? I knew he was a motivational speaker. I knew it was outstanding and inspirational. But what I did not know was the fact that he is an accomplished musician. I mean, we're on Local Biz now, and he goes to the drum set, and wow.
Yeah. Chuck he's like a Renaissance man.
He is a Renaissance man.
That's what he is.
Chuck Gallagher is an American entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's a trainer. He's an author. He is the author of Second Chances, has been featured in media outlets with including Life and Help, Small Business Opportunities, Business Week, CBS, CNN, Lifetime, and National Public Radio. This will be his third year speaking at our small business event. Chuck is also the founder of the production company Primo Productions that has assisted us in virtual event last year and this year at www.chuckgallagher.com. Joe, I am really thrilled to invite back Chuck Gallagher.
Yeah, I just adore Chuck, and I must tell you something. We talk about Steve Gilliland and how he has helped us out. Mm-hmm. Well, we found Steve through Chuck. So Chuck has been helping us longer than Steve, right? And so Chuck has been so helpful. One of the things Chuck has done, as you know, last year, we could not have done this thing virtually without his new studio that he's put together. And this year, it would not happen without his studio. But also, whenever I need a good quality key speaker, I call Chuck, and Chuck knows them all. They all know Chuck, and they respect him enough that he can twist their arm just about as much as I twist him to get him to help us. And it is such a wonderful feeling to know that we've created this friendship over the years. And it started with him walking out on stage in a orange prison suit And I looked at that and thought, what did I just do? Oh my, I cannot believe I let this guy up on stage with all of my friends, and it was phenomenal. So I must tell you
yeah,
something.
absolutely.
Chuck Gallagher is by far one of my favorite people, and I can't thank him enough for doing what he does. And I can't even get into the details of all the things that he has done for us. Chuck, my friend, thank you, buddy. Can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. And Joe, I have to say it's probably a little challenging because my head's so big now from that introduction. I'm just saying, it's terribly difficult. By the way, I want to go ahead and show, because I assume you can see this. Let me try to put it here. I want to keep the brand going, so of course my phone case is orange, just so we've got the brand going. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. So let's take just a little bit of time, because, you know, here's the thing. In 2019, as we started a new decade, and some people debated whether the decade starts in 2021 or 2020, doesn't make any difference. But when we ended 2019 and turned that over to zero, none of us anticipated that we would have gone through and be continuing to go through what we have been going through. And it is a game changer for small business. So I want to spend a little time talking about what makes you unique. What is the thing? What is so you that you uniquely offer that your clients need? Now, here's the challenge with small business today. The challenge is a lot of small businesses are not going to make it. What's happened as we turned this new decade is the pandemic, which, by the way, none of us have ever lived through before, right? The pandemic has completely upended the way business is done. It has advanced technology dramatically. We would not be doing this way were it not for the fact that the pandemic took place and we had to shift gears last year. So it has changed a lot of things for small business. Now, let's do this for just a second. Here's the thing. Years ago, 1800s, 1800s, what did we do? We made our living from the ground. You know, we were farmers, we were ranchers. We tilled the ground, we stayed fairly close to each other. You know, the garden was grown in the summer, we put it up for the winter. That was the way it was until the early 1900s. Now you might ask, why are we going through this history lesson? But there's a point. But in the early 1900s-ish or so, we became the Industrial Revolution. We had people that were making steel in Pittsburgh, or in Valdez, North Carolina, where I grew up, it was cotton mills, textiles. But it was making things. It was using our hands to create products that people would buy to make into something else. And then about the time I came along in college, and you can tell by the color of my hair, that's been a long time ago, but back in the 70s, it kind of shifted. It shifted to what we would refer to as a service economy. And you know, just being really practical. When I went to college, nobody went to college and said, I'm going to go to college so I can learn to be a mill worker, or to be a person that works in a foundry. I mean, that was not normal. I went to college and I got a degree in accounting. People were teachers, or they were chemists, or they were accountants, or they were attorneys or doctors or whatever, but it was a service economy. And then, not really that long ago, literally last decade, when we were in the teens, the economy actually shifted at that point to a tech and experience economy. Now, okay, let's be kind of practical here for just a second, okay? Joe, Bill, me, our age, we're still kind of in that service economy mode, but a lot of the kids, man, it's about the experience, it's about the technology, it's about the communication. One of the folks in my office today was saying, do you remember the old days of playing like Red Rover and dodgeball? And I was like, yeah, man, those were fun things. Yeah, you can't do it today. You could hurt someone, you know, and it's like, oh, that's so sad. But it's a difference in generations and what's taking place. Now, there's a point to this. The question kind of comes down to, how does your customer know the difference between you and your competition? Now, that's actually a fairly important question. How does your customer know the difference between you and your competition? Because you see, if we went to 2000 for that 10-year decade, or 2010 to 2019, that 10-year decade, the way business was done was really changing, and then again got just thrown into craziness now. So let's think of a couple of things. Remember Circuit City. I remember Circuit City. I remember going to Raleigh, and I would go to Circuit City, and you could buy all kinds of things there. And of course, it doesn't exist. That's functionally replaced with Best Buy, which, by the way, most people on this or who are listening in small business would say, well, Best Buy is certainly not a small business. That's true. It's not. It's a big box store, and it's almost gone out of business. It had to rethink and retool to be relevant. And again, based on my age, I remember the local small business where you would go get a TV and it might be repaired, etc. And the world exists today. That's probably not practical. If the TV breaks, it's so inexpensive, most of the time you chunk it because it would cost more to get it repaired. And you can buy it with Best Buy, Amazon, or Walmart, and none of those are small businesses. Or what about Borders if you were buying books? Borders is out of business. That leaves Barnes & Noble, which, by the way, just went private and has been teetering on going out of business. Now, okay, Joe, I'm going to commit heresy here. I'm just going to go ahead and admit it, so let me just step up to the plate and say this. But, I like going to Barnes & Noble, right? It is not a local bookstore. The local bookseller wants to be relevant in the marketplace today. I get that. I really do. I understand that. But here's what happens with my experience at Barnes & Noble. Here's where heresy kicks in, right? I go to Barnes & Noble with my wife. We go in, we go to Starbucks, we sit down, we get something to eat or to drink or whatever. We browse the place, find the books we like, skim them, see if it's something we want to buy. And when we buy it, I buy it on my phone. I know somebody's not going to like that. There'll be some comments. I can feel it. But let me just be candid. But why do I want to, as much as I traveled and will travel again, why do I want to carry a big, thick book around? That's bulky, it's weight, it's cumbersome when I can literally buy the book. It can live on my phone. I can read it at any point in time I want to and not have to think about it or worry about it. Now, is that good for Barnes & Noble? No. Is it good for a local bookseller? No. But it is the trend that small businesses have to think about if we are going to ultimately survive. And some are not. Now, Staples is in existence. This is one of those where you say, okay, they're there. Or you could do Amazon. All right? Now, there's a point to those two things, because the question is, if there's no perceived difference, then why would I do business with you? That is, as a small business, a really important question. Why would I choose to do business? And I'll give you an easy example. In the community where I live in, I wanted to buy mulch. And I live on the side of a mountain, so it's not easy to get mulch into the backyard. I'm going to be the first to tell you. It's not the most economic way to get it, but the easiest way to take it back there is bags. So I could go to Lowe's and get it, and it might, I could load it up in the truck or whatever, but I don't have that. Or I could go to the local small business in the community and say, hey, listen, I want to buy, several pallets of mulch. No problem. We'll deliver it to you and stack it for you. That is a level of service that differentiates them from their competitor, and one of the reasons why I will continue to go back. But let me play with this for just a second. Now, you all can, I think, see the see the whiteboard here, which I can, let's see. I'm going to write, hi, Joe. So that's a differentiator for the work that I do. So let me take that away for just a second and ask the question, why would they buy from you? Here's a short story. So I decided I like whiteboards. I like to be able to write and see things. I'm a visual kind of guy. So I come along, literally Staples is across the street from the office. So I drive across this 7-lane highway over to Staples, and I walk around in the store because I'm trying to find an 8-foot whiteboard. Okay, no big deal. I find the whiteboards, but they're all small. So I'm trying to find someone that can help me. And I walked and I walked and I walked and I walked. And I finally found somebody who had a Staples shirt on. And I said, hey, I got a question. What's up? was like, well, what a greeting. I didn't say that, but I was like, okay. I said, do you all have 8-foot whiteboards? He said, yep, sure do. Online. So we don't carry them in the store. Nobody buys that stuff here. I said, oh, okay. He said, here's what you do. He says, you go online. He said, you order it, and it's free delivery. And I said, oh, no kidding. Thanks. And he literally walks off and just disappears about as quick as I was able to find him in the first place. Gone. So I was like, yeah, okay. So I walked out of the store, got in my car, drove across 7 lanes of traffic, went to the office, onto staples.com to order the 8-foot whiteboard. I found it, no problem. Put it in to have it delivered. Put my address in. I'm sorry, we cannot deliver there. I must have mistyped it because I get FedEx and UPS packages there all the time. I typed it again. I'm sorry, we can't deliver there. I typed it the 3rd time. I'm sorry, we can't deliver there. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I went to Amazon. Now, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, that's a nemesis of small business. But let me play it out for just a second, because there is something important to what happened. Was it cheaper on Amazon? No. Same price. Exactly the same price, in fact. However, Amazon had a little button. A little button that said, for $67, would you like to have this professionally installed? Now, I thought to myself, do I look like the kind of guy that wants to manhandle an 8-foot whiteboard, try to mount it on a sheetrock wall, hoping that when I write on it, it doesn't fall on me or create a workman's comp case for one of my employees? I don't think so. Yeah, I'll pay the $67, so I clicked the button, place the order. 3 days later, the whiteboard arrives. 2 days later, a feller comes in. He's got a tool belt on. He says, I'm here to install your whiteboard. And it's installed and perfectly mounted on the wall today. So the point becomes, if we're sitting there as a small business, we really have to think about what is it that we do that will cause people to choose us in the environment we're in. In fact, distinction is the ability to attract customers because what you do is so compelling that loyalty is assured. Loyalty is assured. My local hardware store has my loyalty because I know that what they do is so compelling that I'm going to continue to go back. So let's play this out for a second and think of a couple of ideas. Idea number 1, okay? Do what others are unwilling to do. What the heck does that mean, Chuck? Do what other people are unwilling to do. So, well, but what does that mean? So let's do this. Let's do a think outside of the box example. Okay, quick example. In the world we live in today, anybody that is paying any attention to Small Business Week, that is listening, whether it's Facebook Live or whatever method this is being delivered, knows real estate is white hot. I have never, and I am almost 64 years old, never seen a real estate market like it is right now. Okay? And you all know, as well as I do, that when a real estate market's white hot, the one thing that generally is true is there are a fair number of people who are in the real estate business, as in realtors, who are probably doing pretty well. The biggest challenge they have is not the buyers, it's having inventory to sell. Now, that said, I had the opportunity to talk with a local realtor in our market area, and she made the comment to me. She said, you know, in the real estate world, the listing agent typically gets 3%, and the selling agent typically gets 3%, or whatever the percentages are, but that's the average. And so you want to be a listing agent if you can, because that assures you you're going to get a revenue stream. And this particular agent had been an agent for 5 years, but was not a high-producing listing agent. So we started talking, and I said, well, what are the 10 questions that people always ask when it comes time to list your house? I want to sell my house. I want to be able to get a lot of money for my house. What do I need to do? What do I need to know? What are the questions? And she rattled those questions off like that. And I said, great. Now, if I wanted to list my house, what would be the first thing I would do? She thought for a second. She said, well, you probably go to Google and search listing my house. And probably you would ask some of those questions. I said, wonderful. Have you answered those questions? And she just looked at me, and I said, let's play this out. And we searched the questions, and fascinatingly enough, There was nobody in the marketplace who staked out their claim by answering those 10 questions on a Google blog or on YouTube. And YouTube, owned by Google, is one of the most logical places, in fact, the second largest search engine in the country. So if you've got a product or you've got a service you're wanting to sell, would you not naturally answer the questions that customers are asking? I mean, that made sense. So here's what we did. We crafted the 10 questions. We created video for her answering those questions. We populated that on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And here's what happened. Her rate of the increased rate, that's a better way of putting it, the increased rate that she had of listings went up dramatically. Now that means she was taking it away from somebody, because a house is a house is a house and it's only going to get listed once. But because she was doing what the customers were looking for and thinking outside the box, most of the realtors were thinking about how do I advertise the sale of the house. Very few were focused on how do I get the house into the system in the first place. Okay? That's what I consider to be the distinction advantage. Now, let's play with idea number 2. So I'm going to leave this on the screen. Have you ever been bitten by an elephant? And the answer to that question should be no. What about a mosquito? Yes. The other night, in fact, and the welt on my arm is driving me crazy, but that's a different issue. So let's play this out. What's the truth ahead? It's the little things in life that will bite you. It's those little things that either bite you or the little things that will create your distinction advantage. And what I want to do is I want to ask the question, who's your target audience? Who is it that you're actually, if you're a small business, you need to be able to answer that question just like that. I know in the world that I live in, I'm a vice president in a public company. I absolutely know who our audience is. I also own several small businesses. I can tell you right this moment who the audience is and who I should attract, because I've ultimately got to know that so I can figure out how to connect to them. And that connection, that word connection, that's a key as a small business owner, because how we connected for the past 10 to 15 years is dramatically changing as compared to how we connect today, especially when you're a baby boomer and you know who Keith Richards is. Because I'm going to challenge you, a lot of people in small business, especially if we had this function and it was live, Joe, if I went out and said, and Keith Richards, half the audience wouldn't have a clue who it is, which means that the generational difference means that we're also connecting or thinking about connecting differently. So let's play out a picture. Let me put this picture up here. Everybody, I believe, everybody would tell you, whether you like the folk at Chick-fil-A or not, and I do like those folk and I like their food, but everybody will tell you the pandemic hit, fast food restaurants shuttered the inside, it closed down, and it took weeks. And somehow they must have engineers on site to figure out how do we direct traffic, create 2 lanes, have the drive-through area, have our people out there capturing the order, taking the card, providing the cash, delivering the food to your car. I don't know how many people have told me that if we wanted to really improve the vaccination rate in the United States, just give it to Chick-fil-A and let them pop you in the arm with Pfizer. Because the reality is they have it down to a science. And here's the thing. They know their market is people who want to have some form of fast food quickly. Now I'm going to ask this question. And if you've ever been to, play it out, Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell, name some other fast food place, have they replicated what Chick-fil-A's done? And the answer is generally no. They might have tried a little, but they have not embraced what needs to take place when there's disruption in the marketplace. So here's the deal. The same old thinking gonna get you the same old results. And in a new decade, those same old results might find that someone who is more progressive in their thinking, not politics, but in their thinking, like Chick-fil-A, will capture market share and get lots of positive comments taking place. Okay, let's play with idea number 3. Okay? I'm going to put this on the screen big. I want to make sure people can see it. Do you care more about your competitors or your customers? Okay. Now, I believe it's important to care about what your competitors are doing. I do believe that. I think it's important to know what your competitors are doing. But knowing what your competitors are doing doesn't necessarily mean you are innovating what your customers may want to have done. Okay? Now, everybody's like, Amazon is so big and so forth. I get it. I get it. But Jeff Bezos, who announced his retirement, I think effective the 5th of July, moving into a different role, but he said, my focus is on my customers. Look, there's nobody on this call. You can talk bad about them all you want. I get it. But most everybody on this call probably has an Amazon subscription or at least goes to Amazon to buy things. And at some point, you have to ask yourself the question, as we move forward to a more experience-based society, why would we do something different if they make it easy? Now, well, that's not supporting small business. See, there's where the fallacy is. I can have a small business that uses Amazon as a distribution system and reach people that I would never reach in Simpsonville, South Carolina, or in Greenville, South Carolina. Amazon isn't, somebody that's causing me consternation. It gives me a distribution arm that otherwise I may not have. Now, I'm not saying you have to like them, but I'm saying the focus on the customer is what created the difference. That is the exact reason, because Staples customer service related to ordering online stunk, and Amazon made it easy for me to buy and install, which added a different level to what I was looking at. So the question then becomes, what do your customers want? Okay? What's your differentiator? What is the thing as a small business? I mean, this is a really important question, okay? Real important question. What's your differentiator? What is the thing that would cause someone to say, okay, I'm going to buy from you versus the other people out there who happen to do X? I made the comment. Joe, thank you for the comment earlier, but I own a video production company. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of people that do video. I mean, most any kid out of college can do video. And gosh, if you've got a phone like this, you can shoot video. So what's the differentiator? And in my case, the differentiator is we think differently. It's not about the video. It's about why your video will sell you and generate revenue. Because I don't care what you produce in video. If it's not making you any money, it's not working. And if you're not using video, then you're not attacking the marketplace. So the reality is clients are seeking innovative solutions to problems, and in many cases that they may not yet see. That's the key for small business. See, we're nimble, we're small, we can move at lightning speed if we choose. Whereas some of the larger organizations, they don't have that same nimbleness that a small business has. So, look, I'm going to do this. I want you to look at this picture for just a second. Look at the picture. That's going to be a little bit funny, by the way. And you ask yourself, what do you see? I see several guys. I see what looks to be a big cooker. They got chef hats on. Okay, that's kind of cool. Now, what is that? Oh, by the way, that's from the Best Funeral Ever. I know that's weird to hear from a small business, but let me just play this out for just a second. Because, let's be honest, most funeral homes are small business. But in this particular case, this is a funeral home out of Dallas, Texas. They recognize that, for the most part, a funeral is an experience. It's an ability to honor and celebrate the life of someone. So what did they do? Now, this particular case, this, by the way, is a real picture. This is not staged. In this particular case, the guy owned a barbecue place. So what happened? They made a cooker his casket, a smoker his casket. So consequently, these are the pallbearers carrying the casket of the guy that owned the barbecue place and one of the cookers that they had previously used. By the way, let me point this out for just a second. They have 63% of the market share for the clientele that they serve. 63% of the market share is amazing for a small business. But they recognize it's not same old, same old. There has to be something unique and something different about it. You see, sometimes it's so possible that we get caught up in the routine that we miss the opportunity to create exceptional. To create exceptional means we're going to create an amazing experience. If as small businesses we can create an experience that's amazing, that causes people to sit back and to say, my gosh, that was awesome. That was so much fun. That was great. I never thought about it that way. If we can do that, then the reality is we will not have a problem keeping customers, and in fact, we will easily attract customers. Now, Joe, I'm going to wind this down here in just a minute. We can carry on some conversation, have a little bit of fun with this. But, here's the truth ahead. If we don't understand what our customers want and then deliver, we won't survive the future of tomorrow. Let's be really practical. The future of tomorrow is going to be a whole lot different than what it is today. I mean, just listen. Think about this for just a second. Just think about Ford this week, or last week, I guess, the 19th, announced the Ford F-150 Lightning. Their first electric F-150, not their first electric vehicle, but their first electric F-150. I think all the people that buy F-150s. So you think about that. Then you think about the Teslas that are out there. Now, a lot of people, everybody drives a gas car. Very few people that I know of drive an electric car. But you start to think about it and you start to hear about it. And the next thing you know, this is the best way for me to put it. I go back to the days when I remember we had a cell phone and it was in a bag. Brick or bag. You carried it in your car and you didn't have much of a signal. And then it went to a flip phone. In fact, a lot of us remember the Motorola Razr, which was almost indestructible, and it was a great phone. And we called them a phone. It was called a cell phone, because what did you do with it? You talked to people. That's the whole point of having a cell phone. And then it went to the BlackBerry. And that's when all of us got hooked into work forever. Because, oh my gosh, now we can get email on our phone and then people expect us to answer it. Heaven forbid that we don't actually leave at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whenever it happens to be, because work is work is work and we do it when we need to, just like being on this program tonight. That's part of what we do as small businesses. But remember what happened from there. The BlackBerry functionally died because Steve Jobs says, well, I believe we need to have a device with one button. And by the way, these iPhones used to have one button that was in the center, but now there is no button, not at least in the newer models. So that transformation happened dramatically. That same dramatic transformation is going to be happening as we sit across today and look at where this world is going. Now, that's 2021. 2025 is going to be so dramatically different than where we are now. We won't be able to imagine a lot of that. And by 2030 to 31, assuming I'm still alive, that's going to be like George Jetson kind of stuff. Now, it may not be as freaky as that, but think about it. We've got Roomba vacuum cleaners. We're sitting here with Zoom and Skype. We're communicating. We don't have to literally physically move to go places. We can communicate at the speed of light and the speed of sound. And that's going to be the thing that helps the small business understand where your market is, where it's going, and how to pivot in order to be able to get there. So reality is, I think all of us want to make a difference. And I believe the way to do that is in small business especially is to create for yourself the distinction advantage. Now, Joe, with that, I'm going to shut up because you said I'm a speaker and I can talk a lot, and I needed to make sure that I did not overstay my welcome with you guys, but I'm happy to sit back and carry on some conversation, and let's see where this goes.
Chuck, thank you so much, buddy. I really do appreciate it. And you would never overstayed your welcome, my friend.
You're so kind.
So, talk to me about how you create your different topics that you speak on, because Chuck Gallagher is this guy that recreates himself every year or so, right? Every time you and I talk, there's a new topic, there's a new discussion that we're having. Talk a little bit about how you do that.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Number one, remember, you got to think about what is it that you do. This is Small Business 101. What do I do? Who is my market? Okay, so let's be practical for a second. I'm a speaker. So I speak. My market are people who are meeting planners who are hiring people to speak. Now, I don't speak on every topic. That would be stupid because I'm not competent and qualified to do that. But what I am capable of doing is looking and seeing within my area of competence, what is the trending topic? What is the thing that people are interested in that we can spend some time discussing and talking about? And I don't prefer, Joe, to talk just to hear my head roar. I really hope that people walk away and, get something that they can sit back and say, never thought of it that way. Now, I'm just a simple example, but like with the realtor, I mean, at that point, now that happened in one place, and then all of a sudden, then realtors started thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe in my market area, so call it Detroit. I don't care where it is. It could be, Huntersville. It could be Bryson City. But, if you're that realtor and you want to create a distinction in your market and make that work. So my job is to try to identify what those trends are and then ask myself the question, how can I tap in with my experience to those trends to provide value to the customers that I serve?
Amazed at how technology is playing in business, because I'm one of those guys, I'm still trying to figure out the fax machine. I don't understand how we can put a document in that goes across the country. But sure, you just talked about the evolution of some of the products, and yeah, I remember when my wife had the bag phone in her car, and I do remember the flip phones and everything, and the evolution and the process, and it's just been phenomenal. And Joe and I were just talking about that, earlier tonight, how we've continued to see that evolution take place in technology and how it's changed business. The internet has changed business.
Yeah, it has. And here's the thing. In some ways, if you look at the trends, right, and you ask yourself the question, well, where is this going? So let's play this out for just a second, okay? So let's say that by 2030, there are a whole lot more electric cars on the road than there are today. Now, a lot of people would say, well, I can't go to the gas station and charge the car up, and it happened real fast, and there's no charging stations and so forth. I get that. So a couple of things will take place. Number one, you'll start seeing more charging stations. Watch it over the next 5 years. Charging stations will become a thing. But two things that are both disruptive. One, if I was an electrician, man, I'd be all over this, right? Because most people with an electric car will drive their car home, park it in the garage at night, plug it in, charge it from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., whatever it happens to be. When you get up, you got a full tank of electricity, which means the electrician is going to make money taking that line from your box 220 to the garage so you can plug it in, so you can plug your car in. So if I'm an electrician, I'm going to milk that for all it's worth. Here's the other side to it. However, that means if I own a convenience store, I've got to rethink, why are people going to stop at the convenience store if they don't need gas? So what is it that I'm going to offer there that will cause people to stop if they're driving a Tesla or a Ford F-150 Lightning or whatever it happens to be? And then the question from an economic perspective is for Pickett. I don't care, Mecklenburg County, Davie County, or the state of North Carolina. What happens when you get enough electric vehicles on the road that they're no longer buying gas and paying gas tax? How do you pay for your roads? It's disruptive. But anytime there's disruption, there's also opportunity. So the question is, are you opportunistic enough to see where those chances are that you can, in fact, provide value and service? Or do you get on the backside of it, which, it would suck if you were BlackBerry, because that kind of disruption that Steve Jobs brought with the iPhone functionally killed BlackBerry.
Just so you know, Sam James is reaching out to you on Facebook. So I thought you might want to know that he's a local funeral owner here in the area.
And our small business of the year for Huntersville, Joe.
This year,
Sam James, Huntersville Small Business of the Year.
Sweet.
you
Nice.
got
I'll
the
look forward
small
to connecting with
businessman reaching out to you.
Great.
So Chuck, one of the things that you and I have talked about is the fact that you do more than just speak, right? During the pandemic year, I know most of the comedians and people that just spoke had a really hard time because it was hard to figure out who we're going to speak to, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then it took some time, probably the first half of the year, to figure out how this Zoom will work and will people listen through the Zoom and that sort of stuff. But you have been this entrepreneur that has done other things other than speaking. And that's one of the things I preach to my clients all the time. I do think you need to have these different disciplines and these different focuses because we're not exactly sure. You mentioned something like convenience store. I don't know exactly what that convenience store is going to look like in the future. It may be that I got to plug in and wait 30 minutes. So now they get me for 30 minutes instead of 3 minutes to grab a Twinkie and come out. I don't know yet, right? And so talk a little bit about one of the things you do is these sort of, I call them different disciplines, different things that you do, and it really does round out our lives and make us more comfortable. It sort of calculate the risk or mitigate the risk, if you will.
Well, okay. So this is going to be a kind of a weird way to answer that question, but I believe we're all kind of given certain God-given gifts, right? Sometimes we don't recognize what they are early on, and eventually we'll get nudged back on track. But in my case, I've always been a salesman, although I didn't recognize that. You mentioned that I was involved in music. I started off as a music major in college. When I was 16 years old, I made a record album. Those were the days when records were vinyl, right? Okay, but I was kind of poor. I grew up in the housing projects when I was a teenager. So basically, I went to the local businesses and said, "Hey, listen, I want to make this record. If you'll help me make it possible, I'll put advertising in the record so every person that buys one, they'll see you supported this." And I raised enough money to be able to do that. So sales, music was performance. And what do? I speak. So that's performance using my voice because I was a voice major. Now I went into accounting because I didn't want to be poor. Kind of screwed that up, earned me the orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, kind of not so good. Mom always said death and taxes, totally screwed up taxes. So when I got out of prison, I sold cemetery property door to door because I figured, there were songs that like one way or another, we're going to get you. Well, I'm sorry, that's just so bad. But yeah, I kind of have a warped sense of humor. But the reality of it is I've always recognized that if I focused on what I was good at, whether it's speaking, whether it's selling, or the creative world, which is where the video comes in, if I focus on doing that, there are plenty of opportunities. I don't have to be siloed into doing one thing. And you mentioned my really, really dear friend, Steve Gilliland. Steve and I have had many, many conversations. And, one of the comments that I made to him is that, Steve, the majority of people that hire us guys now are probably in their late 30s, mid 40s. So we're kind of like male, pale, and stale. I said, the only advantage I've got over you is I've been to jail. So I got one other writing thing that goes with this. Right? But if we're not creating something that is distinctive enough that causes people to say, "Oh man, I need to listen to that guy," we will not sell our service. So we have to always be thinking about being on that cutting edge. And I look at it, Joe, now this seems like altruistic, but But in the video production company, I'm the old guy. I'm the guy that runs the business, guy that owns this thing. But I've got 4 full-time video editors, recorders, etc. But 4 full-time guys. The oldest one's 30. The rest of them are in their 20s. Here's the thing. They are brilliant at what they do. Don't have a clue how to run a business, but they're brilliant at what they do. And what I want to do, this is just kind of a heart's desire type thing, is I know that over the course of the next 10 years, if I create a company that is so compelling, it will be beneficial to me as I age out and become a graceful senior, and it will become a business that they can walk into. And so I can teach them the value of how to run a business. They can teach me how to be on the cutting edge of video so that we can provide content to people that kicks butt.
Right. Chuck, I can't thank you enough, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking. Thank you so much for the production of this show and for tomorrow, my friend. You are truly a treasure, and I know Bill and I just could not have done this last year and this year without you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Listen, it's an honor, and I love the fact that you guys are doing this and supporting small business. There is nothing more important in our country than a vibrant, positive, productive, and successful small business.
Well,
thanks.
Chuck, Joe and I, we may be male and pale, but we're not stale.
That's true. That is so true.
Chuck, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And this concludes our first evening with Bill Russell. Bill, I mean, where do I start, Bill? Steve Gilliland, Tracy Austin, Danny Decker, and Chuck Gallagher. And what
Tom Tillis.
Excuse me?
We had Tom Tillis.
And we had Tom Tillis on, and we had your next chamber president.
Yep, David Keith.
And so we thank you so much for this. We hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow, we're going to do this again with an entirely different group of people. I must tell you something. Tomorrow is going to be as good as this evening was, with a whole new group of people. Do you want to talk about our sponsors?
Absolutely. None of it would be possible, though, without Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center. I want to thank Mike Riley and for being the presenting sponsor. Thanks to Novant, they were a presenting sponsor of our whole Small Business Week. Central Piedmont Community College, again, a tremendous supporter of our Chamber of Commerce, and an institution working with our business community. So I can't say enough about CPCC. Lakeside Living Magazine, Business Today, Cornelius Today, and also WSIC.
You know, Bill, when you list those sponsors, every one of them are in and around our community, not just for an event like this, but all year long.
Yeah, they really are. And I want to thank Kathy Ames, who was here earlier, too. She sharing what's going on down there at the hospital. And again, tomorrow we're going to focus on wellness when we're talking about to Novant.
Great. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Joe.
And that's it for this evening, and we will see you tomorrow. We're going to be a little bit early because we're going to have Rusty live.
Yes,
correct?
we were. We have the mayor of Davidson playing
live
for you, and tonight was mostly instrumental. Well, it was all instrumental. He is actually going to be singing to us, so it's going to be a thrill. It's going to be really good.
It's going to be great. See you tomorrow. We're out.